Welcome to the next episode of Rounders Reconnect. And it's my absolute pleasure. And we've been having a chat about all sorts, not rounders actually, but we're now moving into the rounders sphere. It's my pleasure to introduce Susan Manson, who has been involved in rounders for a long, long time as a coach, tutor, assessor, internal verifier, and also part of the talent pathway. And I'm sure lots more will be uncovered in this interview. So welcome, Sue.
Thank you.
First of all, as I have been with everyone, just tell us a bit more where you're from and how did you get involved in rounders initially?
It was a long time ago. But born in Sheffield, I say, sort of the home of rounders, if you like.
Mm.
And I think my first memories of being involved with rounders, I say, was I was at Sheffield High School until I was age 11. And at lunchtimes and break times, as everyone did then, I said we organised an impromptu game of rounders. Being a left-hander that could sort of hit the ball a reasonable distance, I was always sort of quite popular to be in teams. And I can remember, I think the highlight was I managed to actually hit the ball as far as the swings and the climbing frame, which I say drew appreciation, I say, from everyone around. So
It's it,
quite a long time ago.
it's it funny when you're kids how those sort of things mean so much.
It was clearly very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually being a left-hander, what is an advantage, isn't it, around us? Because they have to
Yeah.
change the field, don't they?
It's an advantage until you hit it straight to first post and you're left standing in the batting square, sort of thinking, "Uh-oh." After that, then I was exported to a school in Warwickshire because of the Sheffield air wasn't very clean, and I had quite bad asthma and eczema. And I can remember then, I say, the highlight there of rounders, I think, was playing in the parents' rounders match, when I say I had the absolute pleasure of stumping my dad out at first post, which I don't think he ever forgave me for. So.
And isn't it brilliant that rounders you can all generations can play and those memories of um
It got quite competitive with those parents. I think probably the member of staff had to calm them down a little bit, but I think by hook or by crook, I think the girls always won.
I was just going to say, did you always win?
Of course. Um,
So how did you get involved in rounders later on though? So when you left school and
when I left school, I say I went to Bedford PE College, and then got my teacher's certificate there. Then I went on to Cambridge then to do a B.Ed after that, and I started coaching rounders in 1976.
oh wow.
Um, so I mean, I became then that was just coaching school teams and things. And I eventually became involved with Rounders England. It was an international versus Wales at Aberdare, and my daughter had been lucky enough to be selected for the under 12 team. And they were short of a coach for the team that day. So I sort of said, well, I probably could do it if you want me to. And obviously I did okay. And then Mark Linfitt, who was the then head coach, invited me to the coaches meeting next year. And I sort of then joined the coaching team. Mm.
So that'll teach you to volunteer, won't it?
Well, to be honest, probably one of the best things I ever did.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's all good. So since then, I think I've coached at that time each squad. There's under 12s to under 21s, plus the adult squads, and each squad had two teams. They had a development team and an elite team. And I think I sort of coached sort of every age group, most teams up to sort of under 18. And had lots of fun doing it and met lots of fantastic players and parents. Mm.
And did you do that? So did you progress at the different age groups? Explain to me how it actually worked. Because in rugby league, you some a lot of clubs go up the age groups with so they start at under 12s, then next year they take the players through. So explain a bit how it works.
I started with the under 12. I think I took them through for 2 or 3 years. But the school I was teaching at, I only sort of taught up to under 13s. So I thought, right, probably I haven't got the same experience with the older ones. But then eventually I got persuaded to keep going up the age groups. I think I did an under 16 team then for a few years, and then sort of followed them through to under 18. But no, as I said, there's been so many fantastic players that have been involved with rounders over the years, and such supportive parents as well. Sort of traveling all over the country, with no financial support, as say, with paying for all the kit, paying for the hotels and things, and then we say, oh, we're off on tour now. Do you fancy going here? And they basically all did. So.
And what sort of what tours were you involved with them?
I went to the Isle of Man several times. I think that's the first time I saw a basking shark, I say, in the bay
Oh,
at
wow.
Port Erin. I did Scotland probably 3 or 4 times. Used to get the early Saturday morning flight up from the Bristol area, meet everybody at Edinburgh Airport, and then I say we used to head up to Perth and play the international at Strathallan College. I can remember they had a really really steep bank there that everybody struggled to get up and down, and also as I did Guernsey several times. Took a tour over to Sark. That was great. As I say, I think I took 16 players, and all the players stayed in one massive house with some of the adults, and then the various parents were sort of scattered in various hotels and bed and breakfasts over Sark. And that was the time that the Lord Taverners cricket were over there. So there's quite a lot of celebrities that come across with them. So
Mm.
we got to meet quite a few famous people. I can't remember all their names, but I can remember one was the first woman to row backwards round the world.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember what her name was.
Yeah. Oh, how exciting, how lovely. And how
But
were the young people then to sort of look after? They would have been sort of under college age generally, were they?
I think it was under 15s. I think I took her say to
Yeah.
Sark, but obviously
Yeah.
all of their parents were there as well, so it was sort of
Yeah.
a mixed responsibility. But I think back then, as say, the health and safety and the safeguarding side of things was not quite as crucial as it was now, rightly or wrongly. But everyone had a
Yeah.
great time. Mm.
Yeah. And have you seen some of those go through into adult internationals then? Some
Yes,
of
as
those
they
young
quite
people.
quite a few of the senior players, like Nicola Weeks, and quite a few of the others. They say, yeah, I knew them as little under 12s, and now they're teachers in their own right, as say, and aspiring coaches and things. So yes, a lot of people have been around on the rounder scene for quite a long time.
So did you get involved in so you would have had to take coaching qualifications. I would have
Yeah.
thought they began to come in, didn't they, in the early 2000s?
It was the National Rounders Association, so you had
Yeah.
to have a level 2 um, NRA, as it was then, coaching
Mm,
qualification. And then when the UKCC qualifications came in, then as say I got the level 2, and obviously now they're just in the process, as say, of sort of updating those qualifications. So I sort of followed the umpire qualifications as well, because I'm a great believer that to be a good coach, you need to know the rules and the umpiring of the game to help with the tactical side of the sport.
absolutely. As I do more and more of these interviews, the more I hear about the tactics of rounders is amazing. Um, because it's a batting and fielding, so it's being able to read your opponents, isn't it? Did you
I think
enjoy that side of it as
I
a
love that
coach?
side of it. I can remember there's one match. I think it was Megan Priestley was the backstop. Can't think who the other one was, but it was the last ball of the innings, and I thought, right, in case they do a backward hit, I'm going to put an extra backstop in, because we had a very fast bowler, and I wanted her to bowl a really fast ball, and I had one backstop, and then about 10 meters behind that backstop, I had a second backstop, and all the parents were thinking, what on earth is she doing now? And believe it or not, to say the batter did a backward hit, and the second backstop that I put in actually caught her out, and that won the match. So,
Oh,
so for once, something went right.
wow. So how many years are you still coaching now, Sue?
I've sort of stood back a bit now. I think I last coached to say um, last year, the year before, because I've now moved down to Dorset, so I'm on the south coast. So I'm
Mm,
sort of a little bit out of the catchment area for rounders at the moment. Um, but I think I last did. Was it Wales? Was it last year or the year before? So involved, but not as involved as I have been, as say, over the past sort of 20 odd years. I
yeah,
think a
yeah.
lot of that is location, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And what were your highlights then of coaching? Obviously, your
Oh,
internationals, but
quite a few highlights. To say, I think the internationals, particularly playing North Wales. used to turn up at Rill wherever the match was, and they're always, highly competitive. But I think it was always the fact that the under 16 team competed, as say, for the Wilkinson Sword Trophy, and literally it was a big, probably meter long sword, which is mounted, as say, on a wooden frame. And it was always the face of the captain when they're actually presented with this sword, to thinking, what is it? What do I do with it now? So that was always, a say, a funny
When
thing.
did that come in, the Wilkinson sword? Can you
I think the
remember?
Wilkinson sword has been around for years. It actually went missing for a while, so I'm not sure. And then it suddenly appeared again. But no, I'm sure that others would be able to tell you the history of the Wilkinson sword, as say,
Mm.
far better than I can. And I think it was always singing the national anthem against Wales as well, because it was almost a case of they always sing very loudly. So it's a case of just trying to sort of sing our best. And let's just say that the music was not always the best that was provided. Usually
Yeah.
it was very slow. So we were trying to keep in time with the music, very, very unsuccessfully. I think the other one I think was a highlight was when we played England softball against England rounders. So we played their version of the game, and then they played the version of the England rounders. And and then when Ireland came over a few years ago as well, and we played the Irish version, which is rounders but quite different, and that they played the English version. So yeah, lots of highlights.
Yeah, lots of good fun by the sound of it, and doing different things and really traveling to play.
I think I say a lot of it. I say is you've got to make it fun, because the rounders and the players and the parents are making such a commitment to rounders
Mm.
that we always used to do a training weekend, generally probably up in the Sheffield area or the Bristol area, when they'd all come. We'd have 2 days training and go out for a nice sort of meal on the Saturday evening. I can remember one in Bristol when it was. I thought this is going to be okay, this one, because it was about April, and then I think we had the Beast from the East too,
Oh,
and there was another one I think when we were just outside Sheffield, because that was always a good venue because the parents could stay around the Meadow Hall area and things. And I think then we had Beast from the East one. Like I remember one player had to travel back to East Anglia, and because of the weather, the trains could only go at 40 miles an hour, and it took them hours and hours and hours to get back. But we actually stopped early to let everybody head off. But again,
yeah.
everybody turned up. The commitment.
Wow.
It
That's
was
amazing, isn't it?
no, it's really incredible.
And when you look at sort of the different age groups of the squads and coming together, what did you use to come together as a team so many times a year and then give them training programs or something like that? Was there anything like that that you did, or did they just go back and play in their local leagues?
Mixture of the two. I used to give them a winter training program, and we tried to meet up for training camps at least probably three times, 4 times before the season started. But I think you've got to remember, I say, that they weren't just
Mm.
exclusively playing rounders. A lot of them, I say, were you know playing high level, hockey, netball, football, lots of other sports. So I think there had to be a lot of sort of understanding that if they couldn't get there for a training session, then there was a reason that they weren't there for a training session. Um, and the fact to say that they were committed to rounders, to me, was important. But I think all their other activities, I think, had to be recognised as well. I think there's one example, I say, a girl called Tia Norton, who was part of the under 16 squad, but also she was a very talented paddle player. And there was times that she couldn't come and times that there were. And as soon as she left school, she actually became our first professional UK player on the international tour, and is
Oh,
hopefully
wow.
this year about to break into the top 100, traveling all around the world and having the time of her life. And what a lovely girl and a lovely family.
Yeah. Oh, that is amazing, isn't it? And that must give you such a feeling of that you've had an involvement
Well,
in
not really in her paddle, but it's just very
Mm.
nice to have known her.
Yeah, no, but I guess because there's a crossover, isn't there, of
Yes,
of,
yes.
of coaching and skills, and it's not just about the tactics and everything else. There's a whole lot off the field stuff around leadership, isn't there, and communication and everything else that goes with sport that's so important for you as a coach.
I can remember. I think family lived near Warwick, And I think she'd only passed a driving test about the week before, and there she was driving herself to a training session about 100 miles away, very confidently.
So with your coaching, when you sort of look back at you, let's just go on to umpiring a bit. So did you have you umpired a lot as well?
Yeah, I did my umpiring qualifications the same time as my coaching qualifications, which was with Brian McKinley, I think, in around 2001, 2002. So I've sort of, I'm an umpire, well, a national umpire and umpire tester. And also, I say, I'm a Rounders England tutor, I say, for umpiring and for coaching for all of their courses, as well as an assessor.
Hmm.
And I also asked to internally verify. I think there's about 4 Rounders England internal verifiers at the moment that just sort of check that the courses, as I say, are being sort of run according to the correct criteria and things. So I've sort of I wear different hats on different occasions. So it's sort of but I'm living on the south coast now. I think I'm probably a little bit too far out of the loop for most things. Mm.
Mm. But you still sound very engaged, very active with the things that you're doing.
Oh yeah, but not so much rounders now. It'd be
Yeah.
nice if there's more rounders sort of that starts along the south coast, because we've actually got two or three good coaches, I say, within probably within 10 miles of where I am. Yeah.
Well, there's a challenge. There's the gauntlets
Uh,
thrown down.
mm.
So, in your umpiring, then, so you've got to a high standard of umpiring as well. Tell us a bit more about sort of the qualifications and some of the your qualifications you had to go through. But also, I'm really interested in some of the games and some of the stories around some of the teams that you've umpired.
I think I say that I like, I say, the nitty gritty. I think when Rounders England obviously get emails from players and leagues and stuff, sort of saying, "Can you tell us, to say, a little bit? What is this rule? What does it mean?" And I think I'm one of the people, I say, that Rachel sends them through to, saying, "Sue, can you help us out with this one?" So I sort of have a think about it, and then normally ask other umpires, I say, like Roderick Gass or Claire Eckersley, or some of the others. Sometimes we have a consensus over the understanding. Sometimes, I say, we have sort of a discussion about it. But I think the rules, I say, there's always something which is just sort of coming up, or some scenario that hasn't happened before. And I think I always like that situation where you're trying to work out, did we make the right decision, I say, and then moving forward from there. But I think it's always the internationals when they're very close, and you've got that sort of tense feeling leading up to like 2 batters left. But no, I enjoy the umpiring side of it, and also do some of the corporate events, like the Inland Revenue one is good. And we do the Hazard tournament, which is a health and safety tournament on an annual basis, and the Defence League one, which was at Bath University. I think they had about 200 people taking part in the Rounders event there. So
Wow.
it's a very popular sport for
Mm.
sort of various corporate events and things.
Well, through history, it was very much in, when we've started unpicking this in the sort of 60s, 70s, and 80s well, even 90s
Mm.
works leagues. So this is probably where it's gone on to, isn't it? That still people get involved in the tournaments.
I think it's so popular because they say it's a sport that both men and women can play. There's not much equipment. They can learn it quite quickly. You can play it on the beach, as I say, at a very fun level, just with jumpers and things on the ground. Right up to really sort of technical and tactical. International. So as a sport, it's got a lot going for it.
Oh, it has. It's so inclusive.
Uh,
It's brilliant. It's brilliant as a sport. Um, and as you say, you can have different abilities on a team as well, can't you? That
Well,
yeah,
and disabilities as well.
yeah.
With the walking rounders and the sensory rounders, and all the new versions, as say, that are being rolled out. Mm.
Yeah, oh, it's brilliant. So, have you got any memories of your umpiring? Any stories to tell us about umpiring games?
I don't think I've had too many sort of what if situations, as say, that have stood out. I haven't had any stand up arguments, to say, with any players or anything like that. So
Well done.
nothing very juicy or exciting that I can tell you on the umpiring front.
But you can just tell from the way you're talking about it, your absolute love for your coaching and your umpiring and being involved and how much it's given you, which is fabulous. And without further ado, actually, and I mustn't forget, tell us a bit more about your trips to Kenya. How did that come about?
Those came about, as say, through a friend of a friend, that the independent schools in Kenya, as say, played rounders to a good standard, and they always have, as say, a pre-season training camp in September. And they said, would I like to go out there? And I thought, of course, I'd like to go out there. So I think for about 3 or 4 years, I went out to Kenya on an annual basis for about 3 weeks at the beginning of September and end of August, beginning of September. And I was based to say up um, sort of about two hours north of Nairobi, and did their sports camp for them, which was like 3 or 4 days. And then I went round various schools in Nairobi, then sort of doing coaching clinics for the staff and for the some of the pupils. Like I remember, it's so embarrassing. I was doing one coaching clinic in one of the Nairobi schools, and I was giving out some inset notes to all of the teachers. And this lady walked in who was a little bit late. So I said, hello. I say, don't worry at all. Gave her a set of the coaching notes. It turned out she actually wasn't one of the teachers there, as say, for the inset. She was actually a very famous international Kenyan athlete who was there to actually do another inset. So they very quickly told me my mistake and I carried on. But no, it was great because, well, once I finished all the coaching, I used to go on a safari for a few days and
Oh,
then
wow.
head back to England and look forward to the following year.
Yeah. So is it quite big rounders in Kenya then?
Rounders in Kenya was really competitive, yes. It was different to say, instead of the posts and bases like we had here, although they were gradually changing with a little bit encouragement, that their posts would be an old paint can filled with cement with a wooden tree post put into the cement, and it dried, and then they painted the posts white and black stripes. But I think eventually one or two schools did start using the proper rounders bases and posts. But it was quite endearing, actually, these special paint pots. I think the first time that you see them. But no, they were very keen to learn sort of the rules and the tactics.
Yeah. So do they have an international team? Do they play internationally as well?
They don't play international. There's not so much rounders as say in schools in Kenya now, because sadly, I say, I think one of the headmasters who's at Peponi School in Nairobi, he put forward as say a resolution that all girls should play cricket instead of
Oh,
rounders.
oh
So
wow.
the rounders, as say, came to a halt in the prep schools.
Mm.
So hence my visits to Kenya came to a halt as well.
Oh wow, how
I know.
disappointing. They could have done both, couldn't they?
And he was only headmaster in the school for a year.
Oh
Um,
wow.
all of the staff saying, sort of the decision that he made to say is obviously not a great legacy, because
No.
they absolutely love their rounders. Mm.
Yeah. And it is just such a sport. You can just play anywhere, as you say, on any pitch, can't you? Oh, that's such a shame. But fantastic memories for you of going and what you added to their curriculum by the sound of it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special. It was nice to be asked back year after year, and just a shame I'm not still going now.
So have you got anything else that you want to add that I've missed out or we've missed out in your so far?
I can't think of anything I say that I sort of need to add, really. I would like to just recognise the contribution that Rianne Lilly made as Director of Development, because, as I say, she came in like a whirlwind. I say the amount of initiatives, to say, that are down to her, and I think this is one of them as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I worked with her to help put the heritage project in. She was so keen to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so it's been when you sort of begin to look back at, Rounders and the positive involvement that you have, what do you think about it now as you look back to your involvement from all those early years? What's your thoughts about Rounders?
I'm just really pleased that I championed a sport, I say, which is, so inclusive, but not so much now, but was really badly funded, had very very few sort of paid staff involved in it. And I just hope that in some way I've been sort of privileged to play a small part in its development.
Oh, I don't think a small part. I think a very large part with
Well,
lots of
I think there's a
volunteer
lot of
hours.
people have done far more than I have.
Oh dear, we have so many people that are unsung, but it's
Yeah.
been lovely meeting you and lovely finding out more about what you've done and how many people you've coached, but also umpired and making a difference globally as well. So, Sue, thank you for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed chatting to you, Julia, as well. Thank you very much.